Welcome to the Mischief Maker broadcast, where chaos, creativity, and common sense collide. Your host, Joel Freeman, was kicked out of high school in Alberta, Canada. He left home at 17 and hitchhiked around North America as a long-haired hippie and dope-smoking fool. He made a 180-degree change, becoming one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. As a professional speaker, Joel has traveled to well over 55 countries. His many books have been published in 28 foreign translations. Pieces from his Black History collection have been seen by millions at the United Nations and many other venues. And now, the Chief Mischief Maker himself, Dr. Joel A. Freeman.
Hey guys, Baby Joel here. Hey, the older version of me is living proof that you cannot be who you're going to be and who you used to be all at the same time. We have a guest. Her name is Loida Lewis, and she wrote this book, Why Should Guys Have All the Fun? Available on Amazon and all kinds of different places around the country and around the world. And she's a celebrated attorney, a philanthropist. We're going to talk about depression after losing her husband and then taking over $1 billion enterprise. We're going to talk about all kinds of different things this evening. So hang in there because we have quite a show for you. Now, this is called the Mischief Maker Show. And some may wonder, well, what is a mischief maker? Well, it's someone who is willing to ask the tough questions, be asked the tough questions, lives a curiosity-driven life. It's someone that is willing to ask the what if questions. What if we did this, or what if we tried that? And it's just living a life where we're just always looking at things through a different lens and having a different sensibility about things, regardless the topic. And so that's what we're going to do tonight with Loida. We're going to talk about some things and hopefully ask some questions from a different angle through a different lens. And it's just going to be a wonderful conversation. And tonight we have, and by the way, I want to welcome everyone from the Philippines, from Japan, from Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, United States, all around the world, people who watch and those who are watching on BBC affiliated stations. We want you to just reach out to your general managers of the station and just tell them, hey, let's keep this show on. Let's show this. Let's bring this show on, especially if it's another station that isn't carrying it. Tonight we're going to play a song, and it's I think kind of apropos to this evening, to this show tonight. Our topic. It's called. It's all about being shot at and missed. So here we go.
Driving home on a rainy night, lost control, headlights in flight. Saw the year on the final side of the dash, spun around, eyes closed, no crash. It's kinda like being shot at and missed. Heartbreak came when he walked out the door. Love was lost, that's her on the floor. Healed over time, found the love that's true. Nothing's wasted, God got it through. Kinda like being shot at and missed. A second chance, twist in the wrist. Life can change.
So here we are. I guess we just saw part of the song. It's a song I wrote called Being Kind of Like Being Shot at and Missed. A song that I believe it captures the essence of what it's life like sometimes in our lives when things happen to us unplanned. We had no way to understand, no previous experience. Perhaps even in some cases, no one around us who can help to tease out the reasoning behind it. and it's kind of like being shot at and missed. It changes our whole perspective on life. And so that's a song that when you go to the uh, the QR code above me, you can see some situations here where actually we have the opportunity for you to go to our link tree, and on the link tree there's the opportunity to hear more songs. And also, you'll be meeting our guest and having the opportunity to maybe even bring her in to speak or learn more about what she is doing at this time in her life. Now, Loida, let's bring Loida on, and I just wanted to welcome you this evening. Loida, you're in New York, I understand,
Yes,
and
I'm in New York.
welcome. And we're going to make a really cool announcement later on this evening about you coming on our advisory board for a really big project. But I wanted you to kind of step back, and you grew up in the Philippines. I just want to know what kind of experiences in your early part of your life helped to shape you and give you a sense of purpose and identity that helped to inform you as a woman in leadership and as a lawyer and all the different other things that you've accomplished throughout your life.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joel, for having me. And that's a loaded question. Yes, basically, hello to everybody all over the world. Yes, I was born in the Philippines, grew up in the Philippines. And the question is, what formed me? I guess you all know that the Philippines is the only Christian country, having been colonized by Spain for 350 years, much like South America. And because I grew up in the Philippines in a small town where my father was a very successful businessman, so he imbued me with self confidence, sense of faith in God, and always being kind. Because my father was poor and he became, what we became, he became wealthy as an entrepreneur. So, so if the question is what formed you, what formed me was being born in the Philippines, being raised by mama and papa, and being taught, basic human dignity, which is the golden rule. Don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. That's basically what guides me.
And were there any particular experiences that you can remember that helped to shape you in terms of the character, the I guess the stick to itiveness? You're someone that you've been through so much in your life, the resilience and kind of the curiosity, I guess, is what intrigued me so much about your life. That you're driven by curiosity.
Well, basically, I think, again, going back to how my father and mother raised me, it's because we were privileged, meaning to say we had the biggest house in the province. There was a movie named after me, Loida Theater, and we were sent to public school so that we will have, the common touch. So your question is, what do I remember most? Well, first that my father would go to Manila, where the business was, and come home Friday for the weekend and bringing all sorts of, whatever is grapes, which is very expensive, chestnuts for Christmas, cheese. And at the end of a very sumptuous meal on a Saturday, he would bring us to the balcony where we can see all of our town. And that's where he begins his brainwashing, I would say. So he would always start with, what are the 5 secrets of success? And then he would answer it himself, hard work. And he will give a suggestion of how hard he works in order to create the business. And then common sense, and he will give an example of what common sense is. Number three is resourcefulness, that you cannot go and reach that. Then because there's a flood, then you swim. If you can swim, use a small boat. If you cannot swim a small boat, maybe a helicopter. In other words, he taught us that for every problem there is a solution. And the fourth is determination. Don't give up so easily. If you are very determined, you're gonna get there. Or maybe, you aim for the moon, you land on the stars. And the last one is faith in God. So in my mind, every weekend, that's what he would say. So it's sort of like, became part of my DNA. Hard work, common sense, resourcefulness, determination, and faith in God.
That's wonderful. Now, tell us about how you came to America and what were some of the issues, culture shock aspects to you coming to America from the Philippines?
Well, I came to America not because I wanted to come to America and live here, but because I passed the Philippine bar. I became a lawyer. And for my father, that was his dream that he could not attain because he became a businessman. So it's a round the world trip. Pick your sister up at Columbia where she's studying for masters and come back home and start your career. As I said, Loida Theater was when I was 7 years old, so that when I'm ready to run for public office, I have already name recognition. So while here in the United States, in New York, I can only go to Broadway show or shop because we arrive in September and she's graduating in May. So I thought, why don't I work? And at the Village Voice, there was a Law Student Civil Rights Research Council needing a secretary. I said, oh, civil rights, I like that. And so, I guess my schedule, my bio data was very good. I didn't say I'm a lawyer because that would be a killer. I said I'm just
Mhm.
a second year law student. And he took me, my boss, Harvard graduate, Ray Glover, tall, dark, and handsome. And in the process of working there, I introduced my sister to him. So Friday, he was very fast because they were going out on a date immediately. And so that Friday, my boss had this brilliant idea. Loida, why don't we do a double date? Your sister and I, and I'll fix you a blind date. And that's where I got introduced to Reginald Lewis, the love of my life. We were married 7 months later.
Now, let's pause for a moment and tell us a little bit about Reginald. Tell us a little bit about what the attraction to both of you coming together, and just and what drew you to him, other than the blind date and meeting him. What were the
Yes,
qualities?
well, just on that blind date, of course, in my mind, I'm never getting married because I'm such a strong character. I can handpick all of my classmates at the law school, and they are good. One of my classmates became vice president, elected vice president. Another classmate became secretary of environment. In other words, I was with the best of the best. And in my mind, why will I get married if I can go to handpick my husband and wear the pants in the family? I'll wear the pants in my family myself.
Mm-hmm.
But when I met Reginald Lewis and I got to know him more, he was really more determined than I am, more ambitious than I am, more driven than I am. And the most important is that he was very, very resourceful. Of course, in our first meeting, you know, he was just out of law school. I am, newly arrived, and he ordered champagne. That impressed me. To order champagne. Okay. And so I learned about his family, that his
Uh-huh.
grandfather went to France, World War I, and he was well received by the French. And so from the very beginning, he already had a touch of, you know, uh, not mystery, but something, he was talking about how his grandfather fought in World War I, and then how he entered Harvard Law School, that he lost his scholarship because he was a um, football player, but hurt his shoulder on his first year in college and lost his scholarship. And so he started to go, have a job so that he could pay tuition and graduate in 4 years. So that's another one. And then how he entered Harvard Law School when he was technically na senior. They only wanted junior, but he was so determined. He sent the professor every day. He was there giving him his result of exam and all that. So he got in Harvard Law School. For the 8 weeks of the summer class that they had, where they accepted all the top students of historically black colleges and universities. He just worked so hard and so brilliant that at the end of the 8 weeks, the professor said, Frank Sanders, Reg, if you want to enter Harvard Law School, you have a seat in the class of 68. So
Wow.
all of those stories and many others just showed me, he is masterful. Meaning to say, I thought I am, number one. I am, great. I can wear the pants in the family. But Reginald Lewis showed me he is the man. He will wear the pants in the family. So that was it.
So the biggest thing that he's noted for. I mean, there is a Black History Museum in Baltimore that is named after him. That he was part of his dream. I want to hear about that too. What motivated that? But also, he was the first African American to put together $1 billion deal. If you could kind of sketch that for us.
All right. Little did I know that his dream was to become the richest black man in America during his time. I
Mm-hmm.
only learned that after he died when his aunt told me. And what was that? When he was at Harvard Law School, he had the highest grade in corporate law. And when he submitted his term paper, he showed it to me. The first sentence, in order to create wealth, you must do merger and acquisition.
Wow.
So although he was working very successful as a practicing attorney, okay, we have our own brownstone in Manhattan in 72. He bought it because of a very good case that he won. And we have a second house in East Hampton. He was driving a foreign car, all the trappings of middle class. But for him, that was not enough. For him, it's not, you can only bill your clients 24 hours. But in business, the sky is the limit. So
Mm-hmm.
in his mind, he was going to buy a company. And by doing that, he can create, enormous wealth buying and selling companies. But for everyone who's listening, Mr. Lewis didn't succeed the first time, he failed.
Hmm.
He didn't succeed the second time, he failed. He
Hmm.
didn't succeed the third time, where he spent 18 months trying to buy a furniture company in California. And at the end, the money was in the bank, 8 million. Everything was ready to be signed. But the owner told a lie. He said,
Oh
"Oh
my.
no, you Reg,
No.
you want me to keep two books, one for IRS and one for ourselves," which is a total lie.
Oh
And so
my.
Mr. Lewis said, "What? You blip, blip, blip,
Yeah.
blip, blip,
That's fraud.
blip, blip," meaning
Hmm.
all of the curses. They were cursing each other. And so the deal fell through.
Oh my
18 months
goodness.
of work done. All right. He was close to a nervous breakdown. But for those who are listening, he had to heal. Meaning to say, if you fail once, two, three, it's
Mm-hmm.
nobody's fault but yours. You're doing something wrong. And that's what he told himself. After he healed, after he was able to buy, we were able to buy our East Hampton summer house because it was technically a defamation done by the owner, the one who was selling the
Mm-hmm.
company, by telling that lie. And so he started to decide, okay, what are the successful buyers of companies doing? And so he studied how do they do it and all that and all that. And so the first deal that he was successful was buying McCall Pattern Company. Nothing big,
Oh,
32
McCall
million.
pattern
Madura Pattern. That was his first deal.
sewing. Yes. Mm-hmm.
The sewing. And
Yes.
if you are in the 1970s, people are no longer sewing.
That's right.
No, 1980s, 1984, he bought it.
Oh my.
1984, women don't sew anymore.
Yeah.
But he saw from the numbers that it's still very profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And so he bought it, and in 3 years, he was able to sell it for 90 to 1 return, meaning investment of $1 got $90 million back, $90 back.
Wow.
$1 90 to
Wow.
1 return. Yes. And right after that, Mike Milken,
Uh-huh.
who was the head then of Drexel Burnham Lambert, it is an investment, what do you call this now? Investment banker
Mm-hmm.
that helps those who want to buy companies by lending them the money at very high interest. So that's what happened. He was able to get Michael Milken to support him after he sold the company, and he made a bid for $1 billion for
Wow.
Beatrice International Foods.
Now that's
64 companies
Krispy
in
Kreme
31
donuts.
countries.
What was
That's
under
right.
that?
Here in the United States, Tropicana, Ritz
Yeah.
Krispy Kreme, Oscar Mayer Bacon, they had, in
Oh
the
my
United
goodness.
States, they had 400 companies. And
Wow.
internationally, they have 64 companies in 31 countries. And because it was bought by KKNR, Henry Kravis, with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of debt, in order to reduce the debt, you have to sell some companies. So they decided they're going to sell the international portion of Beatrice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Beatrice International Foods. And out of Citibank and so many other bidders, Mr. Lewis bid the highest,
Hmm.
$985 million. And he bought he won the bid. And so
Wow.
it was like all over the papers, an African American by becoming the owner of a majority owner, 51% of $1 billion company. So it was front page in
My goodness.
black newspapers and things like that. There you go. That is that is Mr. Lewis' story.
Well, I hear the music in your voice. It's very exciting for you to recount this for me, because his book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun, is a fascinating book. And then, of course, your book, Why Should Guys Have All the Fun, is you detail a lot of this. Now, what in your book you talk about how when he passed away, um, I just want you to talk to people who have experienced loss, and just let's put a pin in the business side of things, and let's take a look at what you were experiencing as his wife before, as you're seeing the decline when you first heard the news and the struggle through it. What was going on inside of you?
All right. Well, before I go there, I want especially women who are married to powerful men. You
Yes.
know, when Mr. Lewis comes home after, being out there and he's late, I don't say, "What? You're late again?" No. It's
Yeah.
always, "Darling, have you eaten?" Why?
Wow.
Because I know he's the one fighting out there demons and dragons because he's black. The bigotry and the put downs and the discrimination is right, is real out there.
Hmm.
So when he comes home, he should come to an oasis.
Hmm.
All right. So he should feel welcome, refreshed. So he'd go down and eat again. Okay. So all of that is in my book because my
Yes.
book is part two. His book is part one. Why should white guys have all the fun? And why should guys have all the fun? An Asian American story of love, marriage, motherhood, and running a $1 billion empire. So your
Hmm.
question is, what happened? Well, it was totally, we were living the life of the rich and famous. We moved to Paris. We were in a, in a, Mr. Lewis took this 25 rooms apartment,
Hmm.
five bedrooms, double sized living room, with a piano right in the heart of the 16th arrondissement. So,
Wow.
and I was learning French. And then 5 years later, suddenly, Mr. Lewis was not being able, it seems like he can see on the right side. He could not walk straight. He was bumping his head. And
What year was this?
this was 1992.
92. Okay. Right.
92. And so by Christmas time, he had biopsy because they was suspecting it was cancer in the brain.
Hmm.
And by Christmas, New Year, it was determined, yes, it was cancer in the brain, lymphoma.
My goodness.
And and that you can imagine how much I prayed, Lord,
Oh, yes.
you said, if you pray together, you will, we will answer you. And he didn't want to have chemotherapy. He didn't want to have radiation. Why? Because when he asked the doctor, will that cure me? And they said, no,
Hmm.
no cure. So, as you will read in my first chapter of prologue of my book, I even hired a faith healer from the Philippines to come here because I
Yes,
was
I read that.
desperate.
Yeah,
They were curing people who were in incurable diseases in the Philippines. Why not for my husband? But it was fake.
that was a scam.
It
Yeah.
was scam. Yeah. So he, we dispatched him, and we heard about this special cure in Toronto, Canada, where you're given massive doses of vitamin C, and
Hmm.
maybe it's not allowed in the United States, so we go to Canada
But you reach for anything of
for
hope.
anything.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
anything you can
yes,
do.
yes, and it was not effective.
Hmm.
And so he had he went on a coma while we were in Canada. And so I said, no, no. Would we just leave him there? Because that
Hmm.
means to say a coma, it may last long, it may last short. But as I was waiting with him and sort of asking in my mind whether we should go to back to New York, and sort of like, as calm as it was, for me it was a miracle. His head sort of like moved like this. So I said, we have to go to New York. And so the private plane that he had, the company plane, was prepared for him to fly back to New York. And in Sloan Kettering, the doctor said, his pulse is is going down. And I called up, my mother-in-law and all that. And I knew that if someone is dying, you give them permission to go.
Hmm.
So with tears in my eyes, I said, darling, you can go. It's all right. We will be all right. And that's when he died, December 19,
My
1993,
goodness. Hmm.
at 50 years old.
50 years old. My goodness. Wow. How did you work through that emotionally? What can you kind of give? I know everything is different. We all grieve in our own language, so to speak, and there is what's known as the Kubler-Ross grieving process that people discuss. There's no particular way of okay, I'm done with this part. Now I'm going to do this part. It's all kind of a mishmash, a conspiracy of smells, of sounds, of songs, of places. How did you navigate all of that? And what kind of hope and wisdom can you share with someone who might be in the midst of that right now?
I was catatonic.
Hmm.
I was a basket case. I could not I could not I could not function. I was, well, they call it depression, but for me it was like I was in another planet. I could not really suddenly understand that he's no longer there. And so I am so thankful, honestly, that I am Catholic, that I am Christian, because it's almost like, Lord, help me. I'm holding on to you. Keep me, please, keep me sane. You know, I know you're not gonna leave me. And it's really almost, you know, it took time. I could not hear any music that reminded me of him, and I'll just
Mm-hmm.
bawl. I was crying. I will just
Mm.
cry. And in fact, we have a dog, and as I was crying in bed, the dog came and put his paws on me. So
Wow.
it's almost like, wow, sending the dog to console me.
Hmm.
It took time, Joel. It took time. And for all those who have gone through a trauma like that, give yourself time. We are human. So, if you want to cry, and I cried, I bawled, you know, I had let tears fall, whether there's people or not. You've got to let nature take its course and hold on to God. I
Mm,
know He will not leave me orphan. That's Isaiah, I think, the prophet Isaiah. A
mhm,
mother may forget a baby on her breast, but I will
mm,
not forget you.
mm.
Wow, that is like, I will
That's
not forget.
powerful.
Yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah.
that's how I got through. It took me 6 months.
Hmm.
And after 6 months, it's sort of like I started to see clearly now. Wow. Now I am mother and father to my two girls, Leslie and Christina.
Mhm,
So I have to be there for them as mother and father. Second, he has a book. Why should white guys? And the title is his. Why
mhm,
should white guys have all the fun? When he was 5 or 6 years old, his father had left. His mother has left his father and went back to his grandparents, Mrs. Fuget's, Carolyn, my mother-in-law's parents. And
mhm.
so when they were giving Mr. Lewis a bath, he was 5 or 6 years old, and they're talking about naturally how white people have the best jobs, that they get the best homes. So as he
Mhm.
was coming out, he said, "Why should guys have all the fun?" I said, "I want that as the title of my book," and that's the title of the book.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so, and so, uh, I yes,
We're going to take a
sorrow,
break. We're going to
grief.
take a break right now
Okay.
for our sponsor. But I want to, when we come back after the break, I want to ask you now. You're in the midst of all this depression, as you put it, and for 6 months, but yet there's Beatrice Foods. There's the whole uh, stuff going on the outside. I want us to visit that when we get back. Okay, Mel, let's play the video.
Jean Champollion was one of my students. He was easily bored, but he became intensely focused with languages like Greek, Coptic, Latin, and Arabic. Helped the Rosetta Stone traveling exhibit project transform an ancient artifact, the Rosetta Stone, into a modern metaphor for problem solving. Educate yourself.
Well, that's a little bit of trying to be creative from someone from the Napoleonic Egyptian military campaign. He is trying to tell us, spanning time and space, to take a look at the Rosetta Universe project, which is basically transforming an ancient artifact, the Rosetta Stone, into a modern metaphor for problem solving and critical thinking, which if you look those two terms up in the dictionary, Loida's face will be next to it. And I just want to make an announcement that she is our newest advisory board member for this project. And I just want to officially welcome you to the Freeman Institute Foundation for the Rosetta Universe project. Thank you, Loida.
Thank you, Dr. Joel. It's an honor. I'm glad you invited me.
So I'd encourage anyone to go to the QR code if you're watching on your laptop or your desktop. Take your cell phone out, put your camera on, and then just go to the QR code above me, and then that will take you straight to a link tree. And I think it's the first number one on the link tree is the Rosetta Universe project. Take a look at it. Call me. And we'll discuss any wisdom, advice, ideas, connections, anything you have. And then also, as you scroll down, you'll see Loida's face, and that you click on that, and it'll take you straight to her website. And then you can engage her and maybe invite her to come and speak or interview her or whatever, and learn more about and maybe even get her book to read. So now let's, as we're on the other side of this, your book, Why Should Guys Have All the Fun, which is kind of a hitchhiking off your husband's title, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? You were in the thick of depression, discouragement, despair, catatonic, as you put it. And yet, Beatrice Foods, your husband had acquired it. What was that like? And when did you make the transition? And how did you handle that transition? as a lawyer, as someone who'd been experienced, and watching your husband from another angle doing what he's doing, and now suddenly you're thrust into the thick of it?
Well, because my husband knew that there could be something drastic happening to him, he saw to it that my brother-in-law, who is vice chairman of the company, would be ready to take over, and then in due time find a real CEO to run the company. And so when I got myself together, the company was going south. Why? Because all of a sudden, a very strong leader died. And in 1993, the recession in Europe was such that it is the worst recession since World War II. And then that summer of 1993, it rained in Spain and France and Germany and Finland and France, all over Italy, and 50% of Beatrice International is ice cream. So all of these factors was creating such a havoc in the company that I said we've got to find a proper CEO. And so we paid a lot of money to a headhunter. And so they sent us one, two, three, four, five. We paid a lot of money, and as I interviewed them, yes, they're all good. They're all white, one Puerto Rican, but they're asking a lot of money. Okay, fine. Yes, it's a $1 billion company after all. And when I asked them, can you make it successful? And the answer was, I'll try my best. I'll try my best. Try your best. You mean to say if you fail, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So rather than point finger to them, oh, why did you do this? I said, three fingers are pointing at me. I
Wow.
better take it over. So that if it fails, I don't have to point finger. Why did you do this? Why? I have to point finger to myself. And how did I have the courage to take over $1 billion that I've never run a business before? But I was raised by businessmen. My mother is a businessman, my father businesswoman, my father is a businessman. And as I was growing up, I heard them making deals. How much is
Yes.
that? Oh, that's too much. You know, making deals. And I'm a lawyer. For those, especially women, who are graduating from high school and they don't know what to do with their life, become a lawyer. Why? Because you have the wherewithal to face anything. I think being a lawyer gives you self confidence that nobody, because you've studied the law, that not that you know the law, but that you know how to go about it. And so they didn't know that I have all that background. And so I was confident that if I take over and if I decide properly and I surround myself with good people, we can make it better than going down bankruptcy. So that's how I made that decision. I'd rather take responsibility for my family and uh, and not be looking at somebody else who may fail.
Now, in the book, you talk about how you, I think you sold a plane, all the different extra stuff. Explain a little bit about that, what you were
All right.
trying to do, and a
Again,
message you're trying to give.
yes. Again, it's common sense. All right. We had we had less income
Mm-hmm.
because of all of this, the rain in Spain and the recession in Europe, the devaluation of all of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, when I took over, I said, what, isn't it common sense? You have $1,000 and you have 1,000 and your expenses are high.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? Cut expenses, increase income. And so in order to cut expenses, sold the company plane. It's too expensive. 3 million a year to 3 million a year just to maintain it. Sold the airplane. We had 3 leases of limousines. Why do we need limousines? There's taxi. Okay, cut those losses. Number
Yeah.
three, we have 35 square feet of you know space that we're paying so much because I knew I was going to cut our personnel. We don't need that many personnel that Mr. Lewis had. So I started the negotiating with the executives, our company lawyer, our company vice president, our company lawyer. I mean, I knew that I had to get rid of half of the payroll. And
Wow.
if we get rid half of the payroll, then we don't need 35 square feet
That's
of
right.
35,000 square feet of race. So we went down to 10,000 square feet. Uh, out of out of 30 employees, we went down to 15.
Wow.
So by just the first year, with all of those cuts, I got 1 million. There was a deficit, a red deficit of 15 million when Mr.
Hmm.
Lewis died. But when I came in after 1 year, we already had 1 million. And so, how do you increase income? In France, we were owner of Franprix and Leader Price. But Leader Price was a concept that was fast, meaning to say it started with just 10 or 15 um, small supermarket where everything in the supermarket is one name, Leader Price. It's
Hmm.
almost like Benetton.
Hmm.
Everything in a Benetton store is named Benetton, but it's men's clothes, children's clothes, women's clothes. Here, everything in that supermarket is named Leader Price. But what's the difference with other supermarket? It's very cheap. Okay? It's named Leader Price Coca-Cola.
Mm.
But when you drink it, it tastes like Coca-Cola. Okay? It's named Leader Price crackers. But when you taste it, it's like Ritz crackers. And from out of 20, 30 stores, by the time I was able to let's sell it, there were 250 stores. And
Wow.
so, but after 3, 4, 5 years, I said I have to I first the supermarket. There is a so-called put and call, meaning it's a agreement between the person, not the person, the family that was running the store and the company that Mr. Lewis bought and that I inherited. A put and call that in 5 years I can force them to sell it to us at 15 times
Wow.
sales,
Hmm.
or they can force us to buy them out at 17 times sales, something like that. All right. And so, if that is the case, rather than wait for them to tell us, you buy us out because it's growing so fast, I said, I will sell you. I will not buy you out, but I will sell the supermarket. And so we sold the supermarket. We had zero debt by the time I sold it.
My
And
goodness.
then I
Mm.
started selling the ice cream in Italy, the ice cream in Spain, in Canary Islands, the potato chips in Ireland, the bottling company in Belgium. And after all of that, in 7 years, I was able to pay down debt. We have zero debt. And I got back 1 billion.
Wow.
I
There's a
liquidated the company.
there's a T-shirt out there that says "Underestimate Me." That'll be fun. Did you make that up? That's a T-shirt. Man, you just you were able to come in and turn everything around in a very difficult situation.
Well, I want to tell everyone who's listening, I didn't do it alone. I was able to find good people. For
Yes.
my general counsel, guess who? My former boss at
Uh,
at the Civil Rights Research Council, because I trust him. The
hmm.
other one that I kept from the Beatrice organization is Dennis Jones, because he knew all the managers of the corporation. So he stayed. Okay. The other one I kept is the tax man of the company.
Hmm.
Those were the only two that I kept. Everything else was gone. And even the secretaries, we don't need five secretaries.
Hmm.
So I saw to it that they have a job with Paul Weiss. In other words, yes, we must have profit, but
Hmm.
profit with honor, not
Hmm.
over the bodies, dead bodies, meaning to say,
Yes.
you always treat people as you want to be treated. And so that's how I decided to cut down people. to cut down expenses by letting people go. And all of my executives had very generous separation pay.
Hmm.
Not only that, everyone has a generous separation pay.
Now, you describe leadership as a combination of being strategic and also being compassionate. How do you balance the head and the heart in all of that?
Well, in the head, it's not that because I'm kind, I'll keep you all on the payroll. The business is going to suffer. So
Yes.
you have to make the hard decision of, letting people go. But see to it that when they let them go, that they are still standing, that they're not going down with head low, that they're still
Hmm.
standing. As I said, I saw to it that all of the secretaries Mr. Lewis had a job with Paul Weiss, which was the firm that he
Hmm.
used to work for and which helped him buy the company, Paul Weiss, Paul Weiss. And then for all the other executives, very generous separation pay, and then go your way, find your own way, because you can't stay, and the whole company will fall.
Hmm.
So, in other words, how do you, how do you, how do you do the hard decision and still be compassionate? That's
Hmm.
it. If you are the one in their place, would you just want to leave? No. You work for the company is successful. Give them generous separation pay. They deserve
Hmm.
it. They help the company create the value that we got. We got 1 billion back. No debt.
Now, you were the first Asian woman to pass the bar in New York. Now, is it an urban legend that you didn't even study for it?
No, 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 no. No, I studied like mad. I studied like mad because I want to
Okay.
pass it the first time. I did
Yes.
not study in the United States. I studied in the Philippines, University of the Philippines College of Law.
Uh huh.
That was established in 1908. And
Hmm.
when 1908, we were a colony of the United States. And so the law school copied all of its laws from the United States. I mean, meaning to say the Philippines copied in constitution. Our constitution is copied after the United States. So constitutional law,
Hmm.
labor law, insurance law, all the other laws except trust and state. We don't have that. And
Hmm.
so when I applied with the bar to take bar uh, with the association of the bar to take the bar examination, and they saw that I came from the University of the Philippines, it's acceptable in New York that if you graduate from UP, University College of Law, you are as if studied in the US. And therefore, I didn't have to go to law school in the United States. So I was able to be accepted to take the bar. And I studied so hard. In fact, I had Leslie, my 13-year-old, I exiled her to Baltimore. And I told Mr. Lewis, no cooking, no laundry, no shopping, because I'm going to study, as much as I can. And so I passed the bar the first year, the first time.
Wow. That's incredible because I have nephews and other folks who sometimes have taken like two or three times to pass the bar, and they probably put in an equal number amount of effort into it. Now we have Tonita Quinn. She says, "Didn't you feel overwhelmed suddenly taking control of such a vast business?"
Well, not really overwhelmed. Not really. Why? Because I know where to go. Because Mr.
Hmm.
Lewis says create value. All right, create value means increase your income, and so I hired McKinsey for $1 million to tell us which part of the business is going up, and they said leader price. Okay,
Hmm.
so there is help everywhere. It's not like, oh, I know everything. Of course, I know nothing. And if I don't know, I ask. I
Yes.
mean, so what if they consider me stupid? So what? I don't know. I'm very honest. So you have to, but the common sense is very real. The decision to cut staff, to go down from 35,000 feet of office space to 10,000 feet, that doesn't need a rocket science. I mean, it's simple.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
not
Common
simple.
sense.
Common sense, yeah. So, and you take it day by day. You have a goal. The goal is to create value. So, how do you create value? So, it's this one step at a time. Who is it? Mao Zedong. The journey of 1,000 miles is start with the first step.
Hmm.
You know where you're going, but then what are the first steps to get there? Okay, plan it, and then you deal with the moment. And at that moment, I had also a, what do you call it now? I learned how to meditate, meaning to say, take time out to be quiet.
Yes.
It's called Zen practice. Just be quiet, counting your breath. Why? Because when you're quiet, you can listen to promptings from the Holy Spirit,
Hmm.
and 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 you can test it whether it is from you know who, the devil, or from God.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, if you test it with other people whose judgment you trust. And so, you know, yes, it's overwhelming if you look at it. Oh my God! But if you take it day by day, you know where you're going. So what has to be done? And that the laying off I did in the first year, laying off of the employees, talking to each one, having an agreement of how much they will get as a termination pay, and then we part friends.
Hmm. Now you wrote this book. It's and I've been out for a little bit. Who is your target audience for this book? Who are you hoping, and what are you hoping is the greatest takeaway when people read this book? It's called, for folks just tuning in, it's called Why Should Guys Have All the Fun? Loida Lewis. It's published by Wiley and available on Amazon and all kinds of other places.
Oh, by the way, it's also available digital if you
Yes,
want to get it
yes.
on your iPhone, and also it's it what do you call it now?
Audio?
Audible, Audible.
Yeah,
You can
Audible book,
order
yes.
it
Hmm.
Audible, and I read it myself. You can hear
Did
my
you? Oh,
voice.
that's tough.
I
That's
read
tough
it
to do.
myself. Yes, 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 yes. So what
So
was the question?
who is the target audience? Because if you try
Target
to reach
audience.
everybody, you're going to lose some. If you try to just target some, you might lose others.
Well, that's why it was very important that I wrote Asian American,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm an immigrant. I was not born here. So, um, and women, black, white, you know, pink, yellow. Why? Because when a woman sometimes reaches a certain level, suddenly, oh, I can't do it. Once you say whether you're a man or a woman, and in your mind, I can do it, you already failed.
Mm.
You must have confidence in yourself. And even if you don't have confidence, fake it.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, if something comes to you, it's because that's the right moment for you to take it. And don't be scared. Don't be scared, because you can handle it. Especially women. Hey, we raise families. We gave birth. And, we're strong. Women are strong. Different strengths than men, but women
Yes.
are strong. And so that's my target audience. Those who are faced with problems in their family, how did I solve it? Problems with career, how did I solve it? Problems with interpersonal, with my husband. Okay, it's all there. Problems with becoming wealthy. How do you handle wealth? Problems with how do you handle when you have no money?
Mm-hmm.
Because when Mr. Lewis left the big law firm Paul Weiss, okay, I was working with immigration, which I won through by suing them for discrimination. In any case, I so how do you handle it when you have no money?
Mm-hmm.
All of that I wrote in my book.
Now, if you could talk to your younger self, let's say coming to America, what would you say to your younger self after all these years? You've looked back now and all you've lived and learned.
I'll tell myself as me now, 50 years since I left the Philippines. Go on with your bad self, Loida.
Keep.
Yes. Why? Why? Because if you do things proper, okay, you follow your mind, your intelligence, but you follow your heart, and you look every day towards, Lord, help me today. You'll
Mm.
go straight. I mean, there will be highways and lowways and things like that. but eventually the universe will unite to be with you.
And how has your Christian faith informed your leadership, your grief, your joy, your giving, raising your children as a single mom? How has your Christian faith informed all of that?
Oh my God, God is with me. God is with me in the ups and downs of my life. That's why, yes, of course, I cry. Yes, of course, I get disappointed. Yes, of course, there's betrayals. But if you are with God, you're standing on solid rock. You're standing on solid rock. And the winds can come and the waves may come, but you're standing on solid rock. You will survive. You will, yes, you will walk with God in your heart.
We have Julius saying, did you reorganize management? And I think you've already addressed that earlier in the program today.
Yes, I chose people who have the same values as me. So
Yes.
Mr. Lewis had all of this, high-powered, very intelligent, but we don't correlate. All right, so
Yes.
I let them go. I just kept two. Oh, the third one was my fellow Filipino, Butch Mailey, because he was the PR guy. So I kept him, but everybody else had gone. I had to lay off.
Magic Smith says hello. So I'm sure it's someone you know. Now, we have just a few moments left, probably about 2 minutes. What's next for you? Are there any projects, any dreams, causes you're still chasing with the same fire?
I'm waiting for the contract with Penguin Random House for my book, my next book. Because as everybody says, wow, you're 80, you look so young. I said, okay, that's my next book. Look younger when you're older without Botox.
That's great. Well, so anyone from Penguin, Random House, or anybody else, just we'll get you in touch with Loida. And
No. We're in the process. We're
okay.
I'm just waiting for the contract because I gave certain objection to the contract that they gave me. I want them to not include the Philippines. I want to sell the Philippines with one of the publishers in the Philippines because I want it to be sold cheap. $10, 600 pesos, because American in dollars is too expensive. But
Yes.
this one, I want it in the Philippines sold cheap, $600 or $10.
Yes.
So little things. I'm just waiting for them.
Loida, it has been such a joy. Our time has zipped right by, and we are. Do you any closing comments for 20 seconds or so?
Yes, for all those listening, have confidence in yourself, because if you are with God, everything is possible. Nothing is impossible.
That's great. So, folks, pick this up. Visit the QR code above, and the book is called "Why Should Guys Have All the Fun?" Published by Wiley, and Loida Lewis is the author. And it's I hope everyone watching today, live, and those who pick this up on Spotify and YouTube and all the rest of the platforms, make sure you pick this book up.
Oh, I
Thank
forgot.
you.
I'm also on Loida Lewis podcast. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Joel.
God bless you. Thank you.
God bless.
You have just experienced another episode of the Mischief Maker broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. Connect at chiefmischiefmaker.com. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And hopefully, you are now a bit closer to becoming a mischief maker in your part of the world.